Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on this special edition to our blog. My name is Joanne Sinclair, and this is my colleague Thomas Embleton, and we work within the marketing team here at the North East Business and Innovation Centre, also known as the BIC.
And joining us to talk about the power of video marketing today is our great guest, Pascal Fintoni. Pascal is a professional trainer and speaker. He loves to work with people and businesses to help businesses build an outstanding reputation on the internet.
Well, thank you very much for this warm welcome. I can't wait to hear what I have to say. So thank you for inviting me to talk about one of my favorite subjects, video marketing. I look forward to your questions, and I hope that I can help your viewers and listeners.
Thank you very much, Pascal.
So Pascal, just to kick things off then, so why is video marketing, in simple terms, so important for businesses?
I think that there's almost two arguments or two business cases for using video to build your business and your brand. The first one could be the platforms, in terms of the rules they have in place that are sometimes called algorithms, whereby search engine will favor video content and show that in the search engine results. We saw that a lot on Google, and we know because this has been documented and formally announced by the likes of Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn that they are favoring video content as well, and therefore are showing that content format ahead of any other. So the first kind of argument for it would be that the platform are kind of favoring video content, and if you're not careful, if you don't plan for that, in the long run, you could become demoted, as in your information, which could be only text-based or visual-based, could become demoted and not being seen by your audience. And then the second argument away from platform is people. I think that, as a society, as human beings, we have a long history with moving images and sound. If you look at the success of cinema to date, and if you look at the success of, the likes of Netflix and Amazon Prime and now YouTube Red, I think that, there is something interestingly engaging with moving images and sound. That means that, people are going to relate to it. And for the work that I do, as you mentioned earlier, Thomas, which is about building reputation, it is fair to say that video content will engender more trust, more credibility than maybe just text and images. At a time where confidence and trust in online information is reasonably low, that is to say, people don't always believe the written word necessarily, don't always believe the kind of static visual, I think videos still retain an enormous amount of credibility.
Mm-hmm. Hello.
Okay, so how can businesses best embrace video marketing? How can they take it on board and try and get the most out of video? What's the best ways to do that?
I thought you might ask me that. I've been wrestling with this because what is interesting is, when you get involved in video for a very long time, sometime, you forget, and it's been wonderful to be challenged to go back to the very beginning. But also, let's remind ourselves, what we are talking about today is video marketing, not video production. So I think, for our viewers and listeners, the aspiration should be to do very, very simple video and get maximum amount of results in return, and you should have no aspiration to become a video producer or a filmmaker. That's what I want, but for people running businesses have got busy weeks, I think their attempts should be very, very simple, yet the impact should be great, should have aspiration for that. So the way to begin is to almost follow three key principles that I remind myself, remind my clients. Principle number one is that video will help what you do already work harder. So video will essentially amplify the impact and the result of what you do already. I'll come back to that with more examples, but briefly, if you are already writing regular blog posts as an article, maybe all you need to do is to create a short 30-second video message to promote that blog post and get more result. If you are already attending events, for example, perhaps you can take some pictures, stills, static photography, and then use a very, very simple mobile app to animate it to music, to then publish it on social media. So my question would be, what are you doing already that video can support and make work harder? But I'll come back to that with more examples. I think that the second principle that would help people begin is to really have some confidence in themselves as video creator by following a simple rule, which is that we are all at our best in conversation mode. case in point is this very video we are creating right now. You know,
Yeah.
this is being recorded and we are in conversation mode. This would be so much harder for myself, for example, to try and do a monologue to a camera or to a mobile phone, which is, I think, where there's been some confusion because of the vlogging era on YouTube, where we have very loud and extroverted individuals kind of talking, it would seem, you know, to themselves. But I think that the kind of videos that belong to marketing is all around, you know, you build trust in business by being seen and heard, being helpful to others. So if you can actually put yourself in a conversation mode and therefore either be interviewed as I am or reverse the roles, I could be the one asking you questions.
Yeah.
In that way, both parties are seen and heard being helpful, and that helps build the trust. So that's the second principle, which is that we are at our best in conversation mode. And then the third principle, which I already alluded to, was that you should always, always go for the simplest video format and have the greatest level of usefulness and impact. Because ultimately, what is required of you as a business is not to showcase your capabilities as a video producer, it's to showcase your relevancy and usefulness as a future supplier. And to a point, within reason, you need to make sure that the image is visibly clear, that the sound is clear. But to a point, the audience is not really looking to be entertained by your video production qualities, but to be informed and inspired by the message that you're delivering. So there would be the way to start is to kind of adopt the three key principles. So if I go back to the first one very briefly, what are you doing already that video can make work harder? I would just sit down and make a list. I would just look at the typical week or typical month. So if I could turn that question to you, Joanne and Thomas, what are you doing daily, weekly to promote, the North East Business Innovation Center? Can you make a list of that? And literally the second column would be, what would be the simplest video that could support that activity? So, are you creating maybe some print literature? Are you creating some flyers for an event? What I would do then is do a short video about you unboxing maybe, the delivery from the printers. I would jump in a car and go to the printers, in fact, and film your flyer coming out of the printing line. So what you want to do really is kind of think laterally about, can video capture something which will happen before that normal activity, during the activity, and after? So if I go back to maybe the example of the blog post, you could actually make a short video of explaining your intention to create an article and maybe invite people to ask you some questions. That could be a very short video on Twitter. That could be a very short video on LinkedIn. Then you could, obviously, video work in progress. And then you can then announce that the video is now live, which is usually what people would do. So, most people, when they create a blog post, what they will do is write a couple of lines of text with a hyperlink to the website. And there is often a visual there. What I'm asking you to consider is, can you promote the visual to a short video? So that would be my recommendation, which is make a list of everything that you do that you take for granted, and then find a way to do either before, during, or after video, very short, 30-second, no more, that can work. And if you don't want to be on camera, which I totally respect and appreciate, all you have to do is grab your phone and then literally point the phone to your laptop screen and talk about the blog post you're about to write. You don't have to be on screen either. So that would be essentially how it would begin. And then you step it up after that once you build confidence with being in conversation. And then similarly, what I would do is make a list of suppliers that you deal with regularly. I would make a list of kind of associates that complement what you do very, very well. I would make a list of your clients and kind of ask yourself the question, do they have knowledge? Do they have advice that would be helpful to my audience? And if so, is it worthy of a conversation being recorded?
Okay. And so, Pascal, I'm thinking if a startup business who maybe not have a website yet, but have social media platforms, do you think videos would still be as important to get them noticed, that they would post on social media without linking back to a website if they haven't got one already?
Sure. So social media is a great example because they have rules in place to favor video content.
Yeah.
So if I were to start a business, I would play to that. So let's say you're new, because this start a business, therefore you're late to the party when it comes to social media. I think by and large, we passed now the 10-year kind of phase of most social platforms.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to kind of create your own luck. And the way to do that is with video content, because your audience is more likely to see that video content. And in terms of if I use Facebook in particular, but that's also true about Twitter, Instagram, and a few others coming along. I think LinkedIn is catching up as well. We have a bit of a hierarchy. So they would say that if this is live video content, it's going to get maximum reach and maximum exposure. If it's video that was maybe pre-recorded, perhaps on the phone or another, that then gets uploaded and is therefore kind of on Facebook or on Twitter, that also going to get obviously good coverage. Then as we go down the grading order, if you like, then it would be video that is linking out to maybe YouTube or other platforms. And then after that, you've got static imagery and text only. So you have almost like a hierarchy effect. So if I were giving advice to a startup, I would literally document your business and what you do every day to build the business. I think that's fascinating. People love, that kind of new beginning story. I would invite people to answer your questions as you kind of, discover how to do things. But I would do that in a video format, and I would keep things very simple. I would use your phone, or as we are doing today, the laptop.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. And just talking about with startups in mind, maybe they're kind of pushed for time, they don't have a lot of time, and you mentioned there about doing short, say 30-second videos. Is, say, a smartphone like an iPhone good enough to produce good quality video?
Completely. If your phone is 2-3 years old and even more recent, the quality of the video footage in high definition, online you'd be hard pushed to the difference between that and a camera. I'll give you an example. The last camera that I bought for professional work cost me about £4,000, and it does great video. I reckon that online you'd be hard pushed to the difference between my new Samsung and the £4,000 camera, because obviously it's compressed, it's on a small screen and so on. What you need to watch out for is light condition. So with mobile phones, the lens is tiny, although so powerful, that you need to maybe learn, how to position the phone so that you get the best quality image. And you need to avoid maybe the kind of shaky camera format. So invest in a small tripod. You find them for a few pounds on Amazon. Myself, even though I've been filming forever, I shake a lot, so I can't hold the phone and my phone for very, very long. I've learned techniques where I can lean against a wall, or I can tuck my elbows in, whatever. But I'm really poor at that, so I use tripods a lot. So I think phones nowadays, they are just incredible. And you're right. I recommend that you do short 30-second messages about, key events in your day and in your kind of both marketing and service delivery or product delivery methods. I mean, I remember an example of a client who was changing maybe the packaging of their product to something that obviously was more friendly to the environment, and they just recorded a short message to announce that, and that got tons of views. And it was 15 seconds from memory, just holding the phone. So these are kind of things you can do, kind of document what you do.
Okay, so can you give some examples of companies or clients you've worked with who are using good video at the moment?
All right. So if we begin with live video, and then we're going to work down, the order. So with live video, I've got clients who now go online every Friday at 10 o'clock. And for a quarter of an hour, they answer questions from their followers. It's almost like free mentoring. And the reason they're doing that, really, it began to kind of boost their kind of visibility on Facebook, because the algorithm had been quite harsh. And up to that point, all they've done was to publish text only, text and visual, and they could see the numbers kind of going down. So it began, to be quite honest with you, as just a means to an end, which is, well, if we do a live video once a week, that's going to help when during the rest of the week you just do normal posting. But to give you an example, if they posted a normal message, they probably get around 50 to 70 views, which is not bad, I suppose. But when they went onto live video, they were in the thousands. It was just
Wow.
disproportionate. It was just incredible, and I kind of knew it, but I still got excited when obviously they
Yeah.
told me the that was the case. So that's one example where they kind of give their time for free to advise, but that's in the spirit, obviously, of the platform. The other thing that I saw done on LinkedIn, so it's not live, but it would be live if it was maybe something like Facebook or Twitter, was somebody who would always would once a week highlight one of their suppliers or one of their close colleagues. So it's almost like kind of highlighting someone else's business, but then in return we're getting a lot of the kudos and so on. And then I've got people who work a lot in the kind of IT industry or new media. So what they do once a week, they do live on YouTube where they give a demonstration of a bit of software that they don't necessarily need themselves, but that their clients could do with, and then they kind of help people, learn. So I would say there's a lot of sharing. That's in the spirit of the live video.
Okay, fantastic. And I think you alluded to it at the start, but how can video help a website? And so going away from social media a little bit, why do we need video on web pages?
So if we begin with a technical argument, I suppose video will invite someone to stay longer. So on that, you therefore get some, extra brownie points from, the search engines and to some extent social media platforms as well, because they all judge essentially how long people stay or how quickly they kind of get out of the website. Google, Yahoo, Bing, Facebook, and Twitter, they can take the view. Someone click on the link and then they back straight away into Google, back straight away into Twitter. That's not a good thing. So essentially, people will stay longer because they'll take the time to watch. So that's most of the technical argument. It's also, interestingly, for some individuals, an easier way to create information. Some people, and I include myself in that, would probably take a long time to come up with an article that is, so if you think about blogging, to attract someone's attention. It's not really my forte to sit down and write a 1,000-word article on the wonders of videos, but I will happily talk to you for half an hour. So this also, I think, open up options for content creators. And the reverse is also true, which is that, of course, if you're more of a wordsmith, video may be more of a challenge, but this is where you can work in collaboration as we are today. But I think going back to the argument that I made earlier, the numbers are very, very clear around conversion rates and around, obviously, credibility of a business. Because the range of videos will go. So if you ask me about website, I would say a video on the homepage to summarize the key messages of that business. And if someone is happy to do so, they could also be interviewed or kind of give an address about the business. So a video on the homepage is actually very, very helpful. If you have, obviously, products and services which are made of many elements, a video can actually make it a bit clearer to understand what that is. I mean, you can write about it, but sometimes seeing is believing, and seeing is also understanding better. So if your service has maybe different phases to it, or if your product has different facets to it, a video can help, obviously, someone understand that. And someone understands the service or product better is more likely to become a customer. But where I'm doing some experiment with my customers is around, obviously, all the different calls to action, from subscribing to a newsletter, to joining someone on social media, to filling an inquiry form, to obviously buying something. And we do know that there's a lot of hesitation, and people do give up at the moment of taking action. So I'm doing some experiment about doing short videos about why someone should join you on Facebook, or what happens if they fill the inquiry form. Or in the case of the newsletter, do a short video actually to explain what the newsletter is about, show some examples of previous issues, and importantly nowadays, also give some reassuring messages about data protection and the rest.
So you touched on, Pascal, websites and social media. What about other platforms that you can use video on? So maybe newsletters, other digital marketing. Does it work as well in those?
Completely. So, I mean, if you think through the example of the newsletter, usually the way I work with my clients is that the newsletter summarizes, what has happened recently. So my clients have been busy on social media, they've been busy with their blog, they've been busy with contract work. So again, if you have a video blog, or if you've been doing some messages on social media, they can all be repurposed or highlighted in a newsletter. But all the ways you can obviously use video is to do customer service as opposed to marketing. So let's say you're already, helping a client; they are already your customer. So therefore, you can do some private messages to maybe inform them about, service or the product is about to arrive, or to, if they have a question, for example, they send you a question via email. What you can do is do a video message to respond to their question, which they can do privately, which really increase your standing in this busy world. And back to your comment, Thomas, this is where I think startup businesses can be a bit more ambitious and daring. They could be the very first company in their sector to do video customer service. Yes, we all get emails, and therefore the temptations to always reply via email. I have to confess, for my business, despite the fact I love digital, I will pick up the phone a lot more because I know that this is a bit different. But also on occasion, and for that, I use a tool called Soapbox, which is a company by Wistia. So if our viewers and listeners want to Google Soapbox by Wistia, it allows you to record a private message. And then what is great about Soapbox, it records your webcam, but also your computer screen. So if you want to explain something with visuals, if you have presentations, or if you want to do a demo of a software, it records both of them. And then you send a link, a private link, to your customer so they can view that. So customer service is also part of that. And then finally, I kind of encourage my customers to also think about staff training and staff development, whereby if people can always be in the office together, so there could be training, I don't know, on GDPR, why not? and then not everybody could make it that day, or the team is spread across the UK, or this all sort of scenarios. Then what you can do here is do the session, get it recorded simply, put it online so that those who can make it can watch it. So lots of utilization, and the way you're making me think is what I do with my clients. What we do is we go on the whiteboard, as you can see behind me, and we map out the customer journey, all the different kind of what we call touch points, and then we ask ourselves the questions: would a video help? Right. So we know that it helps a lot at the beginning of the customer journey, where they don't know you, or they don't know if they can trust you. But there's still some reflection, which is what you're correct, which is now they're a customer, what do we do, and what can we do to kind of add value simply?
Okay. So I think that's a very good overview of the power of video marketing and how we can use it in terms of what equipment to use. If people are maybe watching now and they're kind of thinking, I still really don't know how to best use video, or I don't want to be in front of the camera, are there some kind of quick and easy tips you could give to people on producing really short video where maybe they don't necessarily have to be in front of the camera, just to get a video out there?
Yeah, I would begin with still photography. So most people, snap away all day long, and that could be literally, if they're at an event, or you could literally take a few shots of your computer screen if you've been blogging. So I would start with still photography, and then I would use a wonderful app, absolutely adore it, called Quick. It's spelled Quik, so Quick without a C. And it's a mobile phone app, free to download. And what it will do, it will animate those still photos, or those images, to music. And you can add text as well, so you can actually caption on the images so that people can understand what this is. And that's a very good way to kind of get to understand how to tell the story, how to kind of, because when you take pictures, it'll be good and bad ones. You also understand how to use your phone. But very, very rapidly, you can be a video creator just using, obviously, still photography and this app called Quick. So that's a good way to start. And I would recommend for people who are listening to this to definitely go back on their phone, go back on your laptop. There'll be hundreds of photos gathering digital dust, which are just waiting to become, an interesting film. And then with regard to nervousness, I would say then be part of a group as we are today. Don't do this on your own. There's enough kind of things to challenge you as a business owner. Make video fun. So why don't you make it a conversation? Invite suppliers. If it helps you, be a guest. There are people out there looking for guests, and just put yourself forward and learn first being a guest, and then after that you can be a host, as you guys are today. So I would say, back to that, do it as part of a group experience as opposed to solo. That would be a lot more enjoyable.
Brilliant. And finally, Pascal, is there any videos out there that you've seen and you think, wow, that's a really good video that people could look at to get some inspiration?
Oh, that's an interesting.
On your website.
No, I didn't expect that. I'm going to be careful, but because sometimes, what inspires you also frightens you, thinking, how on earth am I going to do that? But this response may surprise you, but there's almost 2 people that do it well, and they're very inspiring. And this is where I'm going to reveal my passion for filmmaking and cinema. But I would highly encourage people to check out Will Smith, the actor and the singer. Will Smith, he actually joined YouTube only last December,
right,
which will surprise people. And the way he does his YouTube videos, I think is a way it should be done. And you'll see there's kind of all sort of different quality footage and so on, but he's documenting. Back to my earlier point, we began this discussion. He's doing a wonderful job at documenting, and therefore it's almost like a travel blog and sharing advice. So Will Smith, I think, does it really well for that kind of YouTube videos and so on. And then when it comes to things which are more to do with social media, and kind of grab your phone and do something kind of off the cuff, but in a good way, I would definitely check out Arnold Schwarzenegger. Which I know is a big surprise, but someone that is doing for much longer than Will Smith. And again, you'll see how they go about it. Now, then you need to kind of take it into a business context, but hopefully that visually, which is what you're asking me, that will give you some ideas around it. And apart from that, if you want to kind of learn more about video and how to work it, obviously YouTube is going to be your friend, and there are people out there who are doing a great job to kind of help you out. And there was one gentleman, I'm just going to look at my notes because I'm going to forget his name otherwise. Right, I don't remember his first name, but what I do is, forgive me, I'll email you actually the YouTube channels to check out.
Yeah.
And then what you can do is add them to the show notes, because actually memory is failing me there. I don't remember. I know I can visualize them, but I can't remember their names.
No problem. That's excellent. Thank you so much for being with us today. If people have any other questions, how can they get in touch with you, Pascal?
Yeah, I mean, any questions, could be about equipment, could be about, the practice of video recording, and then, the kind of distribution online, all those more than welcome. So 2 options really, Twitter, at Pascal Fintoni, or LinkedIn. Leave me a LinkedIn message. If you're not a big fan of social media, then just use a traditional email, which would be pascal@pascalfintoni.com.
Okay, thank you very much, Pascal, for your time. I think it's been a great insight into video marketing. And likewise, if anybody wants to collaborate with the BIC, please reach out to us, and we'd be happy to discuss something. So thank you very much.
No problem at all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.